Okay. Let's see. What are the aspects needed for passion? This is just a theory of mine. It's not really. This is just my understanding of it. One, there needs to be improvement. It's very hard to have a passion for something if you don't feel like you can improve. Community, you need to feel like there are other people that are part of this with you, whether they're cheering you on, whether they're your teammates, whether they're your competitors, etc. You need to feel like you belong to something. Validation, which means you feel like you are hitting milestones or goals, or there are people who are telling you that what you're doing has value to them. Focus, you have the ability to enter a state of focus when you are in the activities doing it. If you're very distracted, basically impossible. Making other people happy, whether it's your parents, your customers, your teammates, etc. Repeatability, so these all give you happy chemicals. These happy chemicals must be repeatable, so that, for example, they're not one shot. You don't reach this, maybe you're improving to a certain point and then you're just done. Like, you're burnout. You don't know what to do next. You need to be able to have the next thing. You have to be able to continue. So, renewability, basically, of value. Future prospects. So you have essentially long-term visions or goals, which could be something that extends beyond what you expect to accomplish. So if you have a mission that you work to assist, let's say something like a charity work or nonprofit organization, you don't expect to solve world hunger, but your vision is to, and you have the future prospect of reducing world hunger, for example. So short and long-term goals and aspiration, such for this. So there needs also for milestones again. And for example, let's say you want to be a professional and then maybe the best at it or whatever, stuff like that. So long-term goals, milestones, and prospect. Having tried other things, so you've tried enough to contrast and know that this is what you want to do. And the reason is because if this is the only thing you've ever known, it's very easy to feel. Now these aren't obviously necessary. These are just this is like a wish list, not a checklist. But if you've never tried other things, it's very easy to. You're more likely to give up. And I don't know exactly how this works, but I guess you're more likely to appreciate the pros of what you have now if you've met the cons of what you wouldn't have, like when you tried other things. Simplest example is maybe a kid who does sports. The statistic was that if the kid starts with this sport and does this sport all the way down, they improve quickly, but eventually they quit before. Whereas the other kids who take a bit longer and the first few years they try a bunch of different sports and then in the end they play the sport, they're a bit behind because they're a couple years behind, but in the end that they're more likely to stay long term. I don't know how exactly it works, but I think it's like the contrast and experience of trying and stopping, maybe. Next. Also, it helps you be better at it because you've got a bit more diverse of a skill set. Internal based goals. So your goals can't be because your parents say you have to be a pro or you have to be a doctor or you have to get an A, because when you're always on this treadmill for other people's imposed goals, it's you don't have the sense of satisfaction. You're more so kind of avoiding negative energy rather than chasing positive energy. So eventually you're going to burn out. Usually, generally speaking. Being part of something bigger. This one isn't obviously as necessary, but this is a viable option as well for fulfillment. So this can be something as being part of a team. Maybe a part of a soccer team that wants to win this tournament rather than just you. So you're contributing to a more collective goal. And also, you have to start. You can't just expect to go to a buffet and be like, that is my shit. Like, I found it. I didn't know what any of these foods were, but now that I see it, I know this is what I want. You actually have to go and like try different foods that you haven't seen to know what it is you want. Yeah, I guess that could be the comparison for trying different things. So it's like if you haven't tried other foods, you only know that you enjoy this, then you kind of don't know how much you enjoy it, or if you know that you enjoy it more than other things, maybe. Anyway, so that's my passion wish list that I theory crafted, brainstormed. It's not some scientific theory. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't have any background in medicine. I don't have any background in psychology, etc. But this is just this is how I picture it based on, and what I'm basing this on is basically when you picture someone who finds their passion, these are kind of the things you imagine them having in an ideal scenario. And that's what I base this on. So imagine in this example the elite, maybe professional athlete, or maybe someone who followed the sport up until high school, did very well, and then pivoted because as you develop, you learn more about the things you like, and that's completely fine. And you can only do that by exploring. So yeah, you can't expect to have a passion before you do something. Passion is developed. For example, maybe you try things, and then when you try it and you get better very fast, like through a state of hyper focus, you have this very that's what kind of like gets it going. And eventually, maybe if you feel stuck or you hit a wall, that's when you're likely to quit or give up, because so it's like I think that's kind of like the 20 hours to learn a new skill. The first 20 hours is the you learn, like, is the growth curve, right? So it's like when you start, you kind of get going, and then you hit a wall. And I think it's what gets you. First of all, what decision do you make when you reach that wall? And if you get over that wall, what is it that helped you get over it? If you're alone, then it's very easy for you to not feel like you have a reason to push through it. But if you have other people that you feel like you have to get over the wall because of or for them, like a team, then you might push it anyway. And once you pay that cost, you're more likely to, for example, bond with your teammates or whatever. And now, that's not to say that if you just do all of these things, you will develop a passion for whatever it is you do, regardless of whatever it is. But you do have, it does require a building process, I suppose. And I will repeat this other one, which is, don't ask for like this big motivational speech or like this huge energy boost that's gonna make you stick to something forever now. Where you're gonna start doing something and you're gonna stick to it forever. You have to look at what fuel you have. Like, let's call this motivation fuel. You're not gonna stumble on this gold mine of fuel that you can dig up forever. Fuel is something you start with a little bit of, and it renews itself. And you have to find ways to make it renewable rather than expecting to land on a gold mine of endless fuel. It's a bit like a solar-powered car. It may not have enough power to bring you across the country, but if you give it the right conditions, it'll charge itself back up. You can take some breaks, do some other things in between, and then put a bit of time every day after it gets its energy in the right conditions, and it'll bring you a bit closer, a bit farther. Okay. That's gonna be it.